headline of the night at the latest Democratic presidential debate has turned into a fight of words between Senator Joe Biden and former Mayor Rudolph Giuliani, a fight that evidently went one round too many for Mr. Giuliani. Our third story in the countdown, Giuliani's replies today invoked a series of 1987 speeches in which Biden credited much of his remarks to British politician Neil Kinnock, all save for one speech in which he infamously left Kinnock out of it and thus wound up inadvertently plagiarizing the material. Mr. Giuliani rehashed all this today, evidently forgetting that 26 days ago, he was accused by Mitt Romney's campaign of plagiarizing materials from Romney's speeches and ads. To start at the beginning, at Drexel University in Philadelphia last night.
I'm not running against Hillary Clinton. I'm running to lead the free world. I'm running to lead this country. And the irony is Rudy Giuliani, probably the most underqualified man since George Bush to seek the presidency, is here talking about any of the people here. Rudy Giuliani. I mean, think about it. Rudy Giuliani, there's only three things he mentioned in a sentence, a noun and a verb and 9/11. I mean, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. And I mean it sincerely.
Mr. Giuliani's spokeswoman, Katie Levinson, responded first on paper, answering nothing of the senator's point, noting merely, quote, Rudy rarely reads prepared speeches, and when he does, he isn't prone to ripping off the text from others. If anybody missed the allusion to plagiarism 20 years ago, after which, incidentally, Biden ended that presidential campaign, Giuliani himself dived into the deep end of a pool with no water in it.
My response is, who wrote it? I mean, I know Joe read it. I saw him read it. I was just wondering who wrote it. When I know who wrote it, then I can respond to it.
Giuliani was accused of plagiarism not in 1987, but on the 5th of this month. If the mayor's words about wasteful spending sounded familiar today, said Governor Romney's spokesman Kevin Madden, I'd have to agree. In Democrat-on-Democrat violence, the obvious target was the obvious target, as Senator Clinton tried to split the middle on the bid by the governor of her home state to get illegal immigrants to get legal driver's licenses.
So what Governor Spitzer is trying to do is to fill the vacuum. I believe we need to get back to comprehensive immigration reform because no state, no matter how well-intentioned, can fill this gap.
The idea that we're going to extend this privilege here of a driver's license, I think, is troublesome. I think the American people are reacting to it.
I just want to add, I did not say that it should be done, but I certainly recognize why Governor Spitzer is trying to do it, and we have failed. We have failed.
No. You said yes. No. You thought it made sense to do it.
Senator Clinton, I just want to make sure what I heard. Do you, the New York senator, support the New York governor's plan to give illegal immigrants a driver's license?
This is where everybody plays gotcha. It makes a lot of sense. What is the governor supposed to do?
I want to add something that Chris Dodd just said a minute ago, because I don't want it to go unnoticed. Unless I missed something, Senator Clinton said two different things in the course of about 2 minutes, just a few minutes ago.
And today, AFSCME, the powerhouse political union of state, county, and municipal workers, ended an earlier period of collective indecision to endorse Senator Clinton. That's a $60 million campaign fund and 40,000 campaign workers across the country. AFSCME's president calling her the overwhelming choice of its 1.4 million members. 30,000 of them are in the most important caucus state, Iowa. Let's turn now to Craig Crawford of Congressional Quarterly and, of course, MSNBC. Craig, good evening.
It was quite a rumble last night.
Yeah, let me start about today relative to last night. How smart was it politically to, as Mr. Giuliani did, answer a fairly serious point about what we could generously call the focused nature of his campaign by invoking a 20-year-old plagiarism charge when he himself was accused of plagiarism 4 weeks ago?
Well, you know, Giuliani has a tendency to shoot from the hip, Keith, and in this case he might have maybe gotten it out of joint. This is something Giuliani may have a problem with in the future. As his own aides notice, he doesn't always read scripts. He talks off the cuff, and this is where sometimes he might have some problems.
But she brought it up first, of course, this Miss Levinson, and in a really, I mean, even for politics, a fairly mean-spirited statement. Are they still making rookie mistakes? We've talked about this previously with the Obama campaign and several of the lesser Republicans, several of the lesser Democrats. Are there still rookie mistakes being made in the Giuliani camp?
Oh, sure, and all campaigns have this. That's one good thing about the early presidential campaign. They're able to work out a lot of these kinks very early on, but it's getting close to the wire now, and that's one thing about the Clinton campaign. I think it's one reason everybody focused so much on her driver's license answer last night. It wasn't quite as savvy as she's always been, but still that campaign is showing a lot more veteran skill than most of the others.
I want to get to that, but that particular answer, but let me ask you one more question about Biden and Giuliani. Did Biden open a door for other Democrats last night? Obviously, it's unlikely another Republican could go after Giuliani for being one-note Rudy, but could you see the eventual Democratic nominee running with this, if not running on it?
I think what we may see in a general election campaign is an effort to undercut some of his boasting about what he did after 9/11. The trouble with being almost a one-issue candidate is that one issue better be airtight, and I think there are a lot of questions about his decisions, both before and after 9/11, that Democrats will get into, that Republicans in the primary race are not, and that's always a problem because you don't get that issue tested, you don't work out your responses to it until everybody's watching in the general election.
To the Democrats, we had virtually this promise from Barack Obama that he was going to get tough on Senator Clinton. Did he do it last night?
Eventually. He was a little slow to trot, Keith, and one thing I noticed here watching it last night was that it wasn't until after John Edwards was landing hit after hit on Senator Clinton that it almost seemed like Obama was playing catch-up. Overall, I would say, though, I think Edwards ended up being more effective and has gotten more credit for that today than Obama did. So Edwards was the principal challenger last night to Senator Clinton, although Obama chimed in quite a bit.
All right, the driver's licenses in New York. It sounded to me, and maybe I'm being naive, that she was saying she was not a very big fan of this idea, but until we have some comprehensive immigration solution, there were going to have to be almost ad hoc interim solutions around the country like that one. Was that her answer? Why wasn't it acceptable, and was she right in complaining that she was unfairly hounded over it?
It was her answer, and I think what we find often with Senator Clinton, like her husband, is she's a policy wonk, Keith. And unlike the media, policy wonks don't tend to think about these kinds of issues in black and white and yes or no and up or down, and it's more complicated than that. And many times that's where the real answers are, just complicated and longer, and that's what she was doing here. We do have this problem with not being able, you can't manage what you can't measure, and the country doesn't know who these people are, these illegal immigrants or undocumented workers, and she is seeing the need to actually try to find ways to not document them, but actually measure them, know where they are, and that's all she was saying. The media jumped on her, and I think everybody was just looking for that because she's been doing so well so long.
Yeah, we'll see if it has any traction through, say, Friday. Craig Crawford of MSNBC and Congressional Quarterly. As always, Craig, great thanks.
Good to be here.